In this video, I would be tackling some various events of Magellan while he was here in the Philippines, but before that, let me tackle you some short events before he ended up here. In the late 1400s, a great new age of European exploration began, led by Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian sailors. They made great voyages into the unknown, full of danger, adventure, and discovery. These pioneers were driven by Christian zeal and profit. In Europe, spices like cinnamons, cloves, and nutmeg, which grew only in the Far East, were worth their weight in gold. Whoever controlled their trade was guaranteed immense wealth. By 1518, the route to the Spice Island was dominated by Portugal. Spain wanted a route of its own. Enter a 38-year-old Portuguese sailor, Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan was a brilliant navigator who'd spent many years sailing the Indian Ocean. Magellan believed it was possible to sail around the New World and reach the Spice Islands from the east. Since contrary to popular myth, it had been widely accepted for centuries that the earth was round. Magellan continued south until winter storms forced him to camp it in Puerto San Julian. As Magellan searched for passage west, the ship Santiago was wrecked, though the crew were saved. Another ship, the San Antonio, deserted and sailed home, but Magellan did discover a 350-mile strait which now bears his name. True to the far ocean, a sea that seemed so calm, he named it Mare Pacifico, the peaceful sea, or Pacific Ocean. But the Pacific Ocean was far bigger than they'd estimated. Their supplies ran out. The men forced to eat rats and drink putrid water. 19 died of scurvy. After 99 days at the sea, they found Guam in the Mariana Islands. So Magellan and the natives from Guam had a misunderstanding because Magellan thought that they stole something from him, and so Magellan burned their houses and left the Guam Island, and they called it as Landronas Island, or the Island of Thieves. On March 16, 1521, a week later, Magellan and his men became the first Europeans to reach and discover the Philippines. So I will be playing a video. It is a song from Yoya Villame called The Philippine History, wherein you can quickly understand what happened to Magellan here in the Philippines, and after that I will explain furthermore about it.
March 16, 1521, when Philippines was discovered by Magellan. They were sailing day and night across the big ocean until they saw a small Limasawa Island. Magellan landed in Limasawa at noon. The people met him very welcome on the shore. They did not understand the speaking they have done, because Castilla get at waray-waray man. When Magellan landed in Cebu City, Raha Humabon met him, they were very happy. All people were baptized and built the Church of Christ, and that's the beginning of our Catholic life. When Magellan visited in Mactan to Christianize them everyone, but Lapu-Lapu met him on the shore and dragged Magellan to go back home. Then Magellan got so mad, ordered his men to come up lads. Mactan Island we could not grab, cause Lapu-Lapu is very hard. Then the battle began at dawn, bolos and spears versus guns and cannons. When Magellan was hit on his neck, he stumbled down and cried and cried. Oh mother, mother, I am sick. Call the doctor very quick. Doctor, doctor, shall I die? Tell my mama do not cry. Tell my mama do not cry. Tell my mama do not cry. That's the end of Magellan in the island of Mactan long time ago, ladies and gentlemen.
So when Magellan reached the Philippines, he landed first at Limasawa Island and did the first mass in the Philippines. He converted every locals into Christianity, including Raha Humabon and his wife. And as what the video said, it is the beginning of our Catholic life. So after what happened in Limasawa, Magellan visited in Mactan to Christianize them everyone, but then Lapu-Lapu resisted and told Magellan to go back. But Magellan insists Lapu-Lapu to join the colonization, but then again, Lapu-Lapu declined. So in order to gain trust of Rahomabon, Magellan sailed back to Mactan on April 27, 1521 and burned their houses in order to terrify them. But when they saw their houses are burning, they were raised to greater fury, and then the Battle of Mactan began. During the resulting battle against Lapu-Lapu's troops, Magellan was struck by a bamboo spear in his neck, and later on surrounded and finished off with other weapons. Lapu-Lapu intended to keep the body as war trophy. After what happened in Mactan, Cebu, the survivors fled, with only enough men left to crew 2 ships. They burned the Concepcion and continued their search for the Spice Islands. Finally, with the help of the local guides and after 2 years of sailing from Spain, they reached their destination, the Spice or the Maluku Islands. They traded everything they had for all the clothes their 2 ships could carry. But as they prepared for their long voyage home, the Trinidad ship sprang a leak and had to stay behind for repairs. Its crew, later on, tried to return to Spain across the Pacific Ocean, but most of the men became sick or died. The survivors had to return to the Maluku Islands, where they and the Trinidad captured by the Portuguese. The Victoria, the last and smallest ship of Magellan's fleet, sailed west for home, captained by Juan Sebastian Elcano. Crossing the Indian Ocean, it took 9 weeks of battling headwinds before they could round the Cape of Good Hope. The men began to starve once more. 21 died before they found fresh provisions at Cape Verde. On September 8, 1522, exactly almost 3 years after the departure, the famished, exhausted Victoria cast anchor at Seville, Spain. Just 18 of the original crew of 270 had made it home. But what they and Magellan's expedition had achieved was astonishing. The first voyage of circumnavigation around the world. It was an incredible feat, not repeated for 58 years, when an Englishman named Francis Drake made his own remarkable voyage around the earth. And that was the story of Magellan. This is Shannon Balyekod signing off. Thank you.